Hey there. We're going to talk a little bit more about Turner syndrome today. One of the things that I want to talk about is the fact that Turner syndrome is not a disease or an illness or a sickness. You can't cure it. There's no shot, no magic pill or anything that you can take that's going to make it go away. Once you're born with it, that's it. You're stuck with it. And I understand that that is kind of hard for some girls and women that have been born with Turner syndrome because it can be very frustrating to have something that, like with Turner syndrome, like you can't do anything about it. And that's frustrating, especially when it causes so many other issues, so many other problems. And it's just, unfortunately, it is what it is. It's, as I mentioned before, like it's random, it's fluke. There's no there's no real rhyme or reason behind it as far as why, you know, because I think that that's what some girls and women that are born with Turner syndrome, I think that's part of their thing is they want like a why, like why did this happen? And there's no real answer to that since when Turner syndrome does occur, it's random because it's not hereditary. It's not something that can be passed down from your family. It's kind of like, even though it's like I said, if you think about it, it's like losing the genetic lottery. You know, it's a roll of a dice, and it's kind of like it sucks, but guess what? Snake eyes. You got born with Turner syndrome. That's kind of how it works. It's it's by chance, and there's no real way to prevent it. There's no preventative measures, because I know when I was born, my mom probably blamed herself a little bit, and there really wasn't anything like and I don't think that any parents should blame themselves because I don't think that there was anything that she really could have done that would have made a difference as far as like eating food and other stuff. I don't think that there was anything that that you could have fixed or changed or had done differently that would prevent Turner syndrome from happening. So I don't think that moms of daughters that have Turner syndrome, I don't think that they should blame themselves because I don't think that there's anything that could make a difference. Because I'm pretty sure that even if a mom ate right, did everything that they're supposed to do, the odds are if that baby girl is going to be born with Turner syndrome, she's going to be born with Turner syndrome. That's just how it's going to be. And I think that that kind of is, like I said again, kind of causes a little bit of frustration, I think, for some girls and women that are born with Turner syndrome because it's like why? It's that constant question of like why me? How come? Well, it's just don't really know. That's how it is. Unfortunately there isn't, like I said, there isn't a good answer. There is no answer. And you know, those of us that are born with Turner syndrome, no, we don't get to have a choice. We don't get to have a choice. It is what it is. And that does suck. I get that. But the only thing that we do have a choice about, like moving forward, is how we choose to cope with it and deal with it. Because the way that I see it is there's two choices. You can either accept it and move on and realize, this may not be great. It may not be a picnic or a walk in the park, but hey, gonna deal with it. Gonna do what you gotta do. You gotta deal with it. Or the other option would be to dwell, wallow in stuff and feel bad for yourself. And those are kind of the two options that there are as far as how you could possibly deal with this diagnosis. And for me, it's like like I said, I've had my moments. Like I said, it's not always great. It's not fun to have to go to all these doctor's appointments, especially when I was younger. It was like nobody likes to have to go to the doctors, and that doesn't really change as you get older either. Um, it's never a fun time. So like that sucked. And there's times where certain aspects of it would crop out, and it would be like no, like the infertility and stuff. Yeah, I would have liked to have been a mom. It would have been nice to have been able to have my own biological children. But that's just not going to happen. It's not, unfortunately. And luckily, I have nieces and nephews, and they're like my babies. They're My nieces and nephews are like my kids. So, so I feel like that for me personally, that kind of helped with that. And like I said, I don't know, like there are certain other, like having to take the medicine all the time. I mean, who wants to really have to deal with that and have to worry about that? And going to the doctors and constantly wondering, like, okay, what else are they going to tell me now? Like, is something else going to crop up? Like, what am I going to have to deal with next? And it's like I said, not always great. But for me personally, I don't sit there and let myself feel bad about it. Because like I said, I've had my moments, but it's, you make space, you make room to feel those feelings. You let yourself go through it, and then you let it go. You move on. You get over it. I've had my time, to mourn the fact that I can't have my own children. And, accepting, hey, guess what? 4'11" is as tall as I'm gonna be. That's just how it is, no big deal. Like, so what? I can't reach things on the top shelf. Like, not a problem. Get a step stool. you know you learn to adapt, you learn to make do, and you learn to adapt with your situation. And the other option that there is to just not. I mean, you could let yourself get caught up in all of the negative feelings. You can let yourself wallow. You could sit there and throw yourself a pity party, but that's not going to make you feel any better. And it's like I said, I'm not saying that those feelings aren't valid, because I've had those feelings myself at one point in time or another. And sometimes even on the best of days, it can still sometimes be hard. But it's like I said, you make the space, you make the room to feel those feelings, and you get through them. You let it go. You move on. Because especially now, I've realized that as becoming an adult, like, there ain't got no time for wallowing. There's no time for wallowing. It's like I've got a job I gotta go to. Other stuff that I have to do. So I can't just sit around and be like, oh, woe is me. Excuse me. But yeah, it's just how it is. It's one of those things, like, can't really, do anything else about it other than to keep pressing forward. That's why, as I've said before, my best advice that I can give to any of my fellow butterflies and TS sisters out there is just take one step at a time, one day at a time, and only worry about the things that you can worry about right now. Don't worry about tomorrow's problems today. Worry about today's problems today. Tomorrow's problems are for somebody else to deal with. So there's no point of worrying about something that you can't do nothing about. I mean, like, even with other stuff that can come up with Turner syndrome, it's like, okay, I kind of expected this, Like, yeah, it may not be great. it may not be fun. It might be one more freaking thing added to the list of other stuff that I have to deal with. But it is what it is. I mean, getting all upset about it, being sad or angry about it's not going to change that. Like, when I found out that I was going to have to get hearing aids, I was very unhappy about it. I I did not like it, not one bit. I was kind of angry about it because it was one aspect of Turner syndrome that, I really wished I could have avoided. But there you have it, unfortunately. Like, when I went through that, it's like, yeah, I let myself feel what I needed to feel. And it's like, yeah, now I still don't really like to have to deal with it. They're not always pleasant to have to wear sometimes. But I suck it up, I suck it up and I do what I have to do. Because that's just the way it is. I mean, it's one of those things. And I do hope that for girls and women with Turner syndrome, if you guys are struggling, definitely do what you need to do to get help if you aren't already, because again, sorry, because counseling, I know, can be a great help in that area, so I would definitely recommend counseling, even for moms of daughters with Turner syndrome. If any moms, dads, whoever, caretakers, if you're watching this, definitely consider getting counseling for your child or grandchild, whatever the case may be, if it's necessary, because I do think that it could be a big help with the ability to be able to cope with it. Because it's, as I said, since Turner syndrome isn't something that can be cured, it's not something that can be fixed or anything like that, so it definitely can cause some problems in that sense, as far as really being able to be okay with it. Because, like I said, I know from personal experience that it can be frustrating, especially when you can't change it, and it's kind of sad that it is like that. Like I said, I wish that there was. I wish that there was like a magic pill or something that you could take, and bye bye Turner syndrome. but it doesn't work that way. Like, obviously, unless they come up with a way to rewrite a person's genetics, fix it so that you can get that chromosome fixed, then the it's just what it is. Unfortunately, I mean, there's still so much about Turner syndrome that isn't known. Again, like I said, okay, like why? Like, why does it occur? Like, what exactly happens? Like, what exactly happens that causes it? Like, where do things get messed up? Like, I think that that's an answer that a lot of us would like sometimes. Because I think, too, that because of how frustrating it is, I do think that there's some girls and women with Turner syndrome out there that would like to be able to blame, want to be able to point the finger at someone or something and be like, oh yeah, this is why. Because I think most of us, if we're being honest with ourselves sometimes, if you can blame something sometimes, if you can point out the bad guy, like, it makes you feel better sometimes to be able to be like, yes, you're the culprit, or this is the culprit, like, this is why. So I do think that in some cases that too is, like I said, I think that some girls and women with Turner syndrome want to be able to place blame on something, like have a reason for why. And it's like I said, it kind of sucks that there isn't an answer for that. Like, I myself personally have lived with this condition for 39 years, and I have yet to learn of any specific reason as to why I had been born the way that I was. It just happened. Something got messed up. Something went wrong somehow. You know? And I don't necessarily mean wrong as in, but you know what I mean. Like, somehow, somewheres in the process, something wasn't working right. And the chromosomes obviously didn't get the memo. So it was just what happened. And I wish that, I really wish and hope that for my fellow TS sisters and butterflies that do struggle with the diagnosis, that do have problems with being able to come to terms and acceptance. Like, I do hope that eventually, can get there. And again, definitely I recommend for any caretakers, parents, grandparents of someone with Turner syndrome, if you believe or think that they are struggling, look into possible counseling, because I do feel like that can be beneficial. It might help, because there's a lot of like mental stuff that goes on with Turner syndrome too that I don't think sometimes some people think about, because I know that like anxiety, like there's many girls and women with Turner syndrome that suffer from anxiety, depression. So again, it's important for us with Turner syndrome to take care of and think about our mental health too. So I do believe that would be a good thing. I mean, gosh, I remember at least when I was little, anyways. Um, what, like I remember going to go speak to the guidance counselor because they like thought it would help and stuff. I mean, well, there was like a lot of other stuff going on at the time too, but I know that was a part of the reason why I was meant to go see a guidance counselor, because I believe that they somehow thought that it would help because of the whole Turner syndrome thing too. I do believe that was a part of it as well. But yeah, I do think that it can help, because especially, and I feel like that this is more, well, I don't know, I suppose that it could affect adults with Turner syndrome as well. But I think especially more for like young girls that have Turner syndrome. I feel like that it's more noticeable that, they may not feel like that they fit in with their peers. Especially with like the height difference. The fact that due to hormonal issues, because of the estrogen and stuff, the lack of going through puberty, um, especially like when their other classmates are going through it on their own, but yet they need to have to take medication in order to make that happen, even. So I do feel like that for younger girls and teenagers especially, yeah, it could maybe be beneficial to get counseling to kind of help, because like I said, from even a mental health perspective, yeah, you got to take care of that too, because I do understand that for some people, like I said, Turner syndrome can affect their mental health as far as anxiety and stuff. So it would probably be a good ideal. Like I said, I myself, when I was younger at least, would talk to the school guidance counselor. Because I did notice, at least when I was a kid anyways, yeah, it wasn't always easy to necessarily fit in with other kids my age, I guess. But I don't necessarily attribute that to Turner syndrome per se, at least not personally for myself, because I honestly kind of feel like that everybody sometimes goes through that, as far as not feeling like that they fit in. But I do know with Turner syndrome that one of the issues too is because sometimes, not all the time, because like I said, Turner syndrome affects everybody like widely, like and differently. Like it depends on each individual person. So I do know that for some, sometimes immaturity is affected. Because there are some women and girls who have Turner syndrome that are perhaps not as mature for their age as they should be, which I can see where that would, like, obviously cause them some problems socially and stuff, as far as being able to fit in and make friends and stuff. So yeah, that, like I said, there's so much that goes into having this condition, and it's it's not always easy. It's not always easy, and it can be kind of frustrating to deal with. It's like I said, I got lucky in some ways. I do. I kind of feel like I got lucky in some ways that growing up I wasn't treated any differently, and stuff, because I feel like it helped. And having siblings, like not being an only child, I definitely think helped, because let me tell you, my sisters did not take it easy on me. Okay, like thanks to them, I definitely learned to develop a thick skin, which I think was helpful at times. So I do think that kind of helped for sure, and I'm kind of glad for that, because it definitely, I think, made the whole thing easier. You know, it definitely helped make the whole thing easier to handle and deal with, because I kind of think to myself, like, otherwise, I mean, I could easily sit there and be throwing myself a pity party, be feeling bad for myself because I have to deal with this condition. But luckily I was never really allowed to do that. I had life to live. I just had to keep doing me. Like, I was no different than any other kid. It was like, yeah, I went out, played with the neighborhood kids and my siblings and stuff outside. um I had friends that I would hang out with and play with and stuff when I was younger. So there was not a whole heck of a lot of time to be sitting around, feeling bad, because I was always doing something, always. So I didn't give me a lot of time to overly dwell on things, which I think was good, because I believe that if I probably had been an only child and stuff, it might have been worse. It would have been so easy for me to just have tunnel vision and only think about the fact that I had Turner syndrome and only worry about that and stuff. But it was like, nope, I was too distracted. I was too distracted just being a typical kid. Because, like I said, Turner syndrome was never allowed to define me as a child. Like, I did all kinds of stuff. Like, I did all kinds of stuff that any other normal kid would do, within reason, obviously. But yeah, it wasn't allowed to stop me. And I definitely would recommend that to any parents or caregivers of somebody that has Turner syndrome. Like, don't let it stop them. If they want to do something, let them do it. Like, don't treat them any differently. Like, I understand, like that fear factor will probably be there, because I know my mom would tell me that, she kind of had that. There was times where she was like, but, she knew that she couldn't do that. She knew that she had to let me be me. If I, if I was going to jump on the bed, I was going to jump on the bed, I guess. Like, obviously I was going to get in trouble for that, because I shouldn't be jumping on the bed, but you know what I mean, It was like, she wasn't just going to stop me from being a kid. She wasn't going to sit there and wrap me up in a little plastic bubble and keep me inside. Like, I would go out, scrape my knee, come back in, get a Band-Aid on it, go out and do it all over again. Because that's just how I was. Like, my mom already kind of knew my personality pretty well. like even when I was a kid. And she even told me, she was, I kind of knew that you wouldn't appreciate if I'd babied you, if I had babied you and mollycoddled you, you know. So she was like, I didn't do that. She's like, nope. She's like, you wouldn't have liked it. So she's like, I just let you let you be a kid. Like, I decided, she told me, she's like, I decided a long time ago that I wasn't going to treat, like, when you were born, that I wasn't going to treat you any differently than your sisters. Because once she got the diagnosis back, like, she already kind of, she was a little worried. But as I started getting a bit, like, she already older and stuff, like, she already made the decision that, you know, she wasn't going to treat me any differently. And I was grateful for that, because I think she was right. If she tried to, like, wrap me up in bubble wrap and keep me from doing things and stuff, I probably would have been really angry. I probably would have been mad and very irritated, you know? Because one of the things that I when I was younger, from the time I was like 2 years old up to like maybe 5 or 6, like I was a very hyperactive little girl. Um, they were, the doctors were pretty sure I may have had ADD or ADHD, but they didn't want to do any like official testing or diagnosis for it. Like at the time, like they just wanted to give my mom medication to give me. But my mom, she told them no. She's like, without any testing, you don't want to test her without any testing, I'm not going to give her medicine. Because what if she doesn't need it? You know, my mom, she told me, she goes, I wasn't going to give you medication if maybe if there was a chance that it wasn't necessary and you didn't need it. Because I'm pretty sure that the medication that they would have given me at the time, when I was born, it probably would have been Ritalin. I think that was probably the most common thing that they were giving kids, like in the late 80s to early 90s. Like I'm pretty sure, and I believe that I had a cousin, I think, who was on it. So my mom saw like what it was like for a kid to be on that, and like she didn't want to see me that way, being all like a zombie, practically. So she was like, no medication. And my preschool teacher at the time, her daughter, I guess, was diagnosed with ADD from what my mom had told me. And she told my mom, if you can handle it, if you have the patience to be able to deal with her, then don't medicate her. Because I'm not sure, but I don't think my preschool teacher put her daughter on the medication. And she told my mom, she's like, it will get better. She's like, it will get better if you have the patience and you can stick it out. And sure enough, it did. From what I'm to understand, like I kind of outgrew it. I kind of outgrew that hyperness. Because I was like, when I was younger, my mom, she had told me about how like I couldn't hardly sit through like a movie or anything without getting up, without talking, without basically annoying my siblings and them being like, shut up, Sam. Because I remember being told often when I was like, if we were supposed to be watching a movie or a TV show and stuff, and I do vaguely remember, yeah, like I would get up, I would like go upstairs, downstairs, I would sit down, I would come back, um, and like I said, I would talk, I would be like trying to talk through the movie or TV show, so like my siblings would finally be like, shut up, Sam, or if you aren't going to sit down and shut up and watch the movie, then go to your room. So, but I did get to the point where I could watch a TV show, watch a movie, and just sit there and stuff. Like, I feel like the older I got, it did get better. I do think that my preschool teacher might have been right about that, because I did get to the point where obviously, even now, I mean, like, but when I was younger, it was kind of a bigger deal. But when I was younger, I did get to the point where I could watch a whole movie, just sit there and just watch it, and and stuff with my siblings and my family and stuff like that, like, and it wasn't a problem. Not like when I was younger. And like I said, that was probably from between the age of like 2, like maybe from 2 to like 5 or 6. Because I know that that's another issue that is a problem with Turner syndrome sometimes. An issue that can spring up is stuff like ADD, ADHD, and a lot of different like nonverbal learning disorders and stuff. I mean, those are definitely things that if you have Turner syndrome, like you have to watch out for that. And especially when younger, it's more of something like parents need to be watched out for that. So, when your kid goes to school, they can get the help that they need and get the accommodations that they need for that sort of stuff. In order for them to be able to be successful in school. Because now I was lucky in school, like my only real like learning struggle was math. And it still is, like, ugh, I hate numbers, yuck. But math was an issue and stuff. Like, I feel like that was my only real biggie. Most of the other subjects I did all right in. Heck, I was no A student or anything, but I did all right. My other subjects weren't too shabby. I can't complain. So that wasn't too bad. It was just math that was really the struggle for me. It was like the old noggin just wasn't wired for it. Like, I would try so hard. Like, I would try to get it. It's like I would try to get it, but something just would never click. Like, it just wasn't clicking. And so I did have to have extra help in school with that. But as far as learning stuff, like I said, I think that was really the only real thing that I struggled with. And as far as like the ADD or ADHD, I didn't really need or have accommodations for that in school. Because like I said, I never ended up with an official diagnosis. Because when I was younger, like I said, my mom told me that they didn't want to do the tests at the time. They didn't want to do the evaluation or test or whatever it was that they did. They just wanted to have her give me medicine. And I agree with my mom about how she handled that situation, because I probably wouldn't have wanted to put my child on medication either if they weren't going to properly do their job and evaluate. Because it's like my mom said, what if there was no need for the medication? And then as I got older, I don't know, my mom just never, I don't know. When we would go to the doctors and stuff, when I was younger, I never recalled my mom ever bringing it up, or it ever being something that she was concerned about or worried about afterwards. Because, like I said, I guess my mom has the patience of a freaking saint. Because the stories that she would tell me, oh gosh, I'm surprised that she let me live to see 39. I was a handful. My mom referred to me as being, and she still tells me this, that I was like having a set of twins rolled into one child, that I was like two of them. Like, I don't know how she did it, like honestly, my mom was a real MVP, man. She's super mom. Like, she's awesome. Cause I don't know, man. Like, my sisters couldn't stand me when I was younger. Not that I could blame them. I could imagine it was probably really annoying. So like, when I was younger, the struggle as far as that was real. But like I said, I was born in 86, and at the time, like, then there wasn't a whole heck of a lot known about Turner syndrome, unfortunately. I mean, we know so much more about it now, like, compared to back then, for sure. Because I believe that the only info that my mom was given is, I think, my preschool teacher or somebody. I know that one of the people that I had worked with, because when I was about 9 months old, my mom, like, she had noticed that I wasn't sitting up, on my own, wasn't rolling over. So from 9 months up until I was in preschool, I had a physical therapist, an occupational therapist, and there was a special education teacher. So I think one of them may have given her like a booklet about Turner syndrome, but they didn't really have like a whole heck of a lot of information, and I'm pretty sure that's all my mom had at the time. And obviously whatever doctors did tell her, which I can't imagine was like a whole heck of a lot, you know. That that will probably be a topic I will touch on in another video, possibly. The fact that there are so many doctors that don't really know much about Turner syndrome. I mean, that could be like a whole video in itself, possibly, because I can't count how many times I've been in a doctor's office and had to be the one to explain to a doctor what Turner syndrome was. But yeah, I guess that's it for right now. Again, like this video if you like it. Subscribe. If there's any questions, anything that you think I should talk about, anything like that, you can leave that below in the comments section. Yeah, and don't forget to hit that notification bell if you want. Alright guys, bye.